have many guys come to me concerned about their mental health, their mental well-being. They're feeling the strain, they're more stressed, they're restless, they're overthinking, not getting enough sleep, feeling more pressure, which creates more anxiety. And anxiety is that old process of looking into the future and blowing out of proportion something that might have been a small concern to something that's really worrying. And that's not a good way to live. A little bit of anxiety is probably healthy though. It's a natural process. If we've potentially got a life-changing event coming, things are going to change. Of course, we're going to run the different scenarios through our head. That's a little bit of anxiety. You might be moving house, or you might be in a man in court who's facing jail. That would create anxiety. Why? Because there's a potential life-changing event coming. But it's when you've done that process of blowing things out of proportion so often, like any skill that us humans learn, we can learn to do it unconsciously. Tying up your shoelaces is a good example. Originally, you had to think about it and make the loop and go around and pull. But once you've done it 30 or 40 times, yeah, no worries. Driving a car is another example of unconscious skills. When you first learnt to drive a car, you had to concentrate. You had brakes and clutch and mirrors and laws and traffic lights and lanes and road rules. You had to focus. But again, after 30 or 40 times driving a car, it's like part of your brain at the back says, that's okay, I've got it, you can think about something else, I'll drive the car. And now you can have a conversation in the car, and as you know, sometimes you can get to work and go, I can't even remember the journey here today. Why was that? Because you were focused on, you had something else occupying your conscious mind. The driving of the car was getting done by your unconscious mind, and if something up ahead ran onto the road, you'd zoom straight back into conscious driving, get around that hazard, and then go back to unconscious driving. If you've been doing anxiety over and over and over again, part of your brain goes, that's okay, I'll do that, you can do whatever you do, I'll do the anxiety. And it starts to happen without even you thinking about it. Same with depression. So if you've picked up or you're concerned about your mental health, there's a pretty good chance you've given not the best meaning to an event, which is running that loop. Now, if you run that loop over and over again, it becomes an unconscious movement, an unconscious skill. You know the guy who's not aware of how often he swears. It's because he swears so much. Consciously, his unconscious goes, I can fucking do it. So, what have you been doing a lot of that your brain's now doing automatically? And overthinking is probably one of those things. Because overthinking is when you go right around the problem and you look at it from every angle, but you end up back at the starting point without any new insight. So you get back around the other way and look at it from a different angle. And you get back to the starting point with no new insight. Now, something to take note of. Your mind and your body are connected. One affects the other. To think it's not like that would be ridiculous. Of course they do. So, if you're overthinking, you're lying in bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, thinking, going around the think circle again, move your body, get out of bed, do some push-ups, do some sit-ups, have a shower, have something to eat, have a coffee. But do something different. Walk outside onto the footpath and quack like a chicken. It'll push those thoughts out. If you just smiled at that thought, well, just thinking about quacking like a chicken, push stuff out of your conscious mind. So mind and body are connected. So how do we on the Change Thinking program help you to turn things around? What I do is I give you a series of statements, and these are like resetting the neural pathways in your thinking. Like going back to factory settings when you were born. We give you good thinking processes, good statements that are that automatic go-to positions. And that starts the process. What we then start doing is looking at hearing those limiting beliefs. All those times when you say, oh, I can't do that, or I couldn't do that, or I don't have the skill or the talent, or I'm not good looking enough, or whatever it is. Whatever bullshit you're telling yourself is not helping. Because whatever you say to yourself about yourself, that's the program that your brain's going to run. So you've got to start listening to the bullshit that you tell yourself. And you need to rephrase it. Right? I've told this story before, but a while ago I met a tradie and I asked him a question, and he said, oh, I don't know, mate. I'm a bit of a dumbass. I left school in year 10. And I explained to him that whatever he says to himself about himself is the process or the program his brain's going to run. I'm a bit of a dumbass. Not a good belief to be saying about yourself. And here's why. If I give a mentally challenging task to someone who thinks they're a bit of a dumbass, they're not going to do the task. They're going to delegate it or put it to the bottom of the pile because they don't believe they can do it. Now, I made my point to this guy, and he said, well, what should I tell myself? And I said, well, there's a great question. And the phrase we came up for him was this: since I left school, I've been getting smarter and smarter and smarter. Took about 3 seconds and he went, wow, that's actually true. And there's an example of telling yourself a better story. I'm getting smarter and smarter every year. Now, if I give a mentally challenging task to that guy, give us a go, I'll have a go. And if he can't do it, he says, well, try me next year because I'm getting smarter every year. I'll be able to do it next year. See, it's a can-do belief. It's an enabling belief. But when he verbalizes, I'm a bit of a dumbass, I left school at year 10. And this guy had been saying it for 24 years. So I'm glad we crossed paths because he doesn't say that anymore. You have to watch your negative self-talk and you have to be able to reframe. It's another skill that we go into in the program. Reframing is that ability to look at something that initially looks shit. But finding some angle where that's not too bad. This is really important. If you've gone through some trauma or you've gone through a bad relationship breakup, you can frame it up as a bad thing, a hurtful, a painful experience. Or you could frame it up like it's a blessing in disguise, that you're one of the luckiest men that ever lived. And that blessing will present itself down the road, not yet. Could this be the opportunity to springboard to a new level of happiness? Why wouldn't you think like that? So, if you're in the habit of looking at your past and framing it up that was shit, it's going to bring you down every time that subject comes up for the rest of your life. You'll be reminded of how you got hurt, how you got screwed over, how you got put behind the 8 ball. It could even send you in a bad mood if you think about it long enough. In fact, if you think about it long enough, it'll take you to an early grave. It's really important that we frame up things, anything that's, even if it's been bad, at the very least, frame it up as a learning experience. Because when you can reframe and see the positive in just about everything, you remove negative and bad things from your life. And if you're living a life that doesn't come across bad things, guess what happens to your level of happiness? It goes up. And you've started to turn the corner And you've got a spring in your step every day. Why? Because there's not really any bad things going on. You might have some challenging things to deal with, but don't label them as bad. Now, this takes practice. It takes the ability to look at things from a different point of view. And as we go through the change thinking program, it becomes more natural, and it gets to the point where it becomes an unconscious skill. Something that you used to call bad, as it happens now, you will go, well, even though that's bad, the good thing is blah, blah, blah. That's when you're starting to live a happy life. Now, we haven't even got into values. Values are great. They'll give you clarity about what's important. If you know what's important and the pecking order of importance, you can't make a bad decision, because the best decision that you can make can only be based on what's most important to you. There could be no better decision if you respect the order of your values. Now, if you make a decision that violates your values, well, that's when your intuition's going to go, man, don't do that. And that's when it doesn't work out and you go, damn, I knew it. You made a decision that violates your values. If you make a decision that respects and honours your values, the hierarchy of importance, even if it doesn't work out, you'll be okay. Because there couldn't have been a better decision that you could have made when you base it on what's most important to you. The change thinking program's set up more or less into two halves. The starter program will get you changing your thinking so you see the world in a different way. You hear things that you didn't hear before. You hear language patterns you've been trained to hear. And you know how to respond to those phrases that other people make. And you learn to be composed and to feel relaxed and to decide how you want to feel. Because in this program we teach you about how to get into state. There's a state to do a presentation. There's a state to have fun. There's a state to do some deep study. And so often people try and do the wrong task in the wrong state. It would make sense if you're going out on Saturday night, young fellas out there looking for some company, trying to find a girlfriend. It would make sense to get into a pretty confident state. It wouldn't make sense to sit there before they go out and think about all the rejection they've had in their life. That's not going to help. And if you put the self-talk that normally goes with those guys, oh, I'm not going to never find a girlfriend. Self-prophesizing. So here's how you turn it around, your mental health. It's by incorporating your body, but listening to the words and language, not only that other people use, but more importantly, the words that you say about yourself. Because they're the most important. You need to frame things up as a good thing. And that's how you have a good life. If you're not having a good life, I dare say you've been framing up your experience as bad. And it might have been bad. My point is, you don't have to frame up the meaning of it as bad. And that slowly makes an enormous difference to your self-worth, your confidence, your self-respect, your overall drive, your work ethic, and how you deal with people and how quickly you make friends. So if you want to come on this journey, take in as much content as you need to. And when you're ready, I think there's a button there where you can, I think it's called the Finally Ready to Talk to Charlie session. So I look forward to hopefully seeing you on that one soon. Take care.